locked?
Is it locked?
We got all fill-ins today. Look at those great smiles.
Council work session. 10 October. We have Mr. Rodriguez out and Ms. Carolyn Mayor Pro Tem is out as well. For our call to order on the City Council meeting scheduled for October 12th, we have the roll call. Mrs. Marsh, Bill is out as well. Invocation by Michael Sanders, Village of Mills Church. Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Messmer.
Yes, sir.
And item 1, Ms. Landry. And then we go to awards and presentations. And the first time ever received is Presentation and Achievement of Excellence in Procurement.
Ooh, yes.
Look at she all excited. She all happy.
Speech.
We would like to hear a speech on Thursday. So excited to issue that award, as well as a proclamation declaring October as National Domestic Violence. Chief seen you on TV last night. Did an awesome interview on KLD 13. Looking husky. There you go. Proclamation declaring as well as October 15th through October 21st as Women Business Week, and the recipient of the Business of the Year is Peaceful Pause. Tony will be doing. Thank you, sir. And now we go to our city manager report. City manager is out until Thursday, but Assistant City Manager Victoria Wellborough, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything to report this afternoon. I know Chuck will have a report on Thursday night.
Roger that.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So we move forward with the new business, and then we will go to Mr. Williams, Nathan Williams, with the resolution 2023.76/76.
Yes, okay, you're skipping the consent agenda. So I'm going to give, thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm going to give you just a little bit of background about these two items that the city attorney has brought to the agenda this week. So under Sierra Vista's property maintenance code, periodically the city is required to go in and abate nuisances. Typically, we try to work with the property owner to get the property owner to comply with the code. However, there are times when the property owner either can't or won't do that, and then the city will go in and abate the nuisance. When the city does that, the city acquires a lien against the property. Typically, it's just a few $100s if it's a weed cleanup or something like that. However, there are some times when the work to be done is fairly significant and the city acquires significant or incurs significant debts and acquires significant liens. And so these two items apply to a couple of abatements that the city has done. So this first one, 2023-076, involves a property located at 11 Witten Drive. 11 Witten Drive was burned, so that the property burned. The owner of the property didn't have the financial means to tear down the structure. And after working with the city went in and tore down the structure. And so and incurred $14,000 or $15,000 in costs in doing so. The owner typically would have 10 years to pay that back to the city in equal annual installments. However, the owner in this case did not do that and has not done that. She has since passed away. I have contacted or been in contact with one of her sons who has informed me that they want nothing to do with this property. And so in order to recoup the city's costs, we're asking for authorization to file a judicial foreclosure to foreclose this lot. Right now, it's just a vacant lot. We cleared the structure off the property because it was burned pretty substantially. And so we would, if authorized on Thursday, we would start the process of filing with the Cochise County Superior Court to foreclose the lien. Assuming the court issues a judgment in the city's favor, then what we would do is we would contact the sheriff's department to execute on that judgment, and then the property would be put up for public auction. The city's lien would act as the starting credit bid for that auction, and so we would be either assured all of our money back if somebody bids more than what our lien is, or we would get the property if nobody else bid on that property, and then we'd just put it up for sale through our public auction process and get whatever we can out of it. So that's the first one, 2023-076.
Yes, sir.
Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real quick, do we have an estimate of value of the property?
It's a vacant lot, $15,000 to $20,000 maybe. So our lien may exceed the value of the property
I was
at
gonna
this
ask.
point.
Okay.
That was my question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any more questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Just one follow, and we're gonna start the bidding at the 22 or at the 15?
So good question, Mayor, Councilman Benning. So our outlay was about 15, a little over 15. With penalties and interest, we're up to about 22,000. Our credit bid would be 22,000.
Okay.
So, 2159. Got it. So we can progress into 077 as well?
Okay, so I'm not gonna give the same background. This is another lien case where the city had to go in and this one is a property located at 132 Peterson. And in this case, the city had to go in and clear quite a bit of debris off this property. At the time, the property was owned by a gentleman named Patrick Markland. He was just an accumulator. He was a hoarder. And so the city had to go in and clear a bunch of stuff off. The city did 3 abatements on this property, 2 in 2017 and 1 in 2020. Subsequent to the city doing this work, Mr. Markland conveyed the property to Lane Balmer, and that's why Mr. Balmer is being named in this action. So Mr. Balmer is the current owner of this property. Because of the amount, right now the outstanding balance to the city is 4652.08. Because that outstanding amount is below 5,000, the owner of the property had 3 years in which to pay this lien. We've reached out to Mr. Balmer, we've reached out to Mr. Markland. We sent them basically a demand letter saying, please pay this lien. The city hasn't received any payment from the owner at this time. And so we're just asking for the same authorization to file an abatement lien foreclosure against Mr. Balmer. I suspect this one will get paid, whereas I don't think the other one will. This one is a standing structure. They've done some work on it. It's our understanding they may be marketing it for sale. If that happens, obviously our lien would get paid and we'd just dismiss the foreclosure action. So that's what we're hoping for on that one. But anyway, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? No, sir. Thank you. And we'll go to item number 5. Ms. Wilson not here. Laura Kilberg is here. Discussion of 2023.7/78.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A few months ago, staff was tasked with developing a process that would address requests made by outside event organizers and partners for fee waivers, reductions, and marketing support for special events. The resulting program was developed to establish clear guidelines and eligibility requirements to establish that request. The program document identifies the types of requests that can be made, explains city expectations, and establishes a timeline of when organizers should expect a decision to be made. We believe this program will help ensure fairness and equity to requesting organizations. Laura Wilson presented the draft to the Parks and Recreation Commission on September 12th and to the Mayor and Council during the September 26th work session. Since those presentations, staff has added additional clarifying language regarding in-kind marketing support that may be considered and corrected the title of Marketing and Communications Manager to Communications Manager. Those edits are highlighted and included within your packets. There were no other changes made to the document. Your approval of the resolution before you will indicate your support, and the staff will begin to manage the program through the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Library. That concludes the staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. No, we
Mr.
have-
Mayor, if you
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
mind, I'd also like to point out for Mayor and Council that this is also one of your fiscal year 24-25 strategic plan goals.
Yes, ma'am. Excellent. And we have a question, Ms. Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so I guess I'm, so it's on page 2, under the qualifications and requirements for those seeking fee waivers or co-sponsorship. And then, so it's mine for D, is not having a religious or political purpose. I need some clarification for that, and I guess I can give you an example. So, as if you remember last year when I came to you about the La Posada on the west end, I didn't have to fill out any forms. We did, but because the St. Andrews is the one that put that on, they didn't ask for anything. We didn't close down the street. We didn't. There was nothing from the city to do. But to help us publicize that. So, and granted, the whole La Posada is the journey of Mary and Joseph finding, the place to, so they could have baby Jesus at that time. So my question is, that's, obviously it's a religious, aspect. It's a very cultural thing because most Hispanics, and I know other churches in our city do that, but not in a public way like that. So that's where I'm confused. So that according to that would no longer be allowed?
That would be considered a religious activity.
Okay.
You can still do,
You can
They
still
can still
do it.
do
They can
it.
absolutely do it.
But not
just can't.
co-sponsored with the city.
Correct.
That's
All right.
one I'm taking. Right there, Nathan?
Correct.
Correct, right.
According to this.
The city can't sponsor religious activities, obviously, separation of church and state. So if it amounts to a sponsorship and it has a religious purpose, the city could not sponsor that. That doesn't mean the city can't advertise it through ordinary means that they would advertise any other cultural event, though.
Got it. Yes, ma'am.
So last year, you guys, the city, did that through their Facebook page? Yes, no? So that would still be allowed, or? I mean,
As a cultural event, yes. As long as it met the criteria for a cultural event, it could still be advertised, yes.
okay.
As long
But
as
it
the
can't
city-
be a co-sponsorship?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. What about when we do like the Santas Around the World or the Faith in Blue events? Is that not? Because we can still do those, right? Or is it against this new policy?
That's a good question.
On
It could
those,
it could be added to the city calendar so that it's available to everyone.
Okay.
Is there a specific Arizona statute that prohibits any co-sponsorship on a religious or a political purpose? I mean,
Not-
you said separation of church and state.
Right.
That applies to a lot of things, and
Right.
people throw that around, but is there any specific Arizona statute that says that?
So as far as the religious, not that I'm aware of. Political, yes. So the city cannot use its resources to influence or support a political candidate, campaign, party, etc. And so that is specifically prohibited under
Okay.
Arizona law, yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I'm gonna start in the beginning. I got a lot to say. One, as this came up before, this part, I love the briefing last work session that Laura presented with how to incorporate the hummingbirds into the city. Now, getting back to this, we already sponsor, and she did put some of those in the back of this. We already sponsor some events, but like I said before, when this first came up, when we first started, but it's a slippery slope we start going down with who we give sponsorship to, who we don't, criteria, et cetera. And what I mean, and I'll go off of D, but I'm gonna go A, B, and C.
Okay.
On page 2, qualifications, paragraph 4, subparagraphs A, B, and C, and D. When it says they can't charge demonstrate by applicant fee, it has to be free to the public, free including registration, entry, and participation fees. If we go to 4th of July, by these criteria, we can't sponsor the 4th of July, we can't sponsor the Christmas parade, we can't sponsor other events because participants are paying a fee to do them or paying a fee to participate. For instance, 4th of July, we have vendors that pay a fee to set up a vendor booth during the 4th of July. So is that free or not free?
No, excuse me, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, members of council. So, number one, the list in Exhibit A, those are already co-sponsored
understand.
events. So, something like the 4th of July event, what we mean is the people who are attending, the public. So, it is free. Anybody can walk into the 4th of July event. You don't have to, as a participant, pay an entry fee.
Okay,
So, you don't have to pay a registration fee just to go to the event.
okay.
The Christmas parade, same thing. Anybody can put their chair on the side of the road, stand, watch the parade go through. You don't have to pay a fee to be able to watch the parade. So that's what we're talking about in terms of free and open to the public.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
How is the Christmas parade different than a La Posada?
What do you mean?
It's open to the public, like, people could just walk up and join the La Posada and watch it, and
No, I
I don't
agree.
understand the difference.
And that's why I say this is a slippery slope I'd say more complaints coming out of this fee reduction. I know Laura and her team painstakingly went through the fees and trying to make the fees fair, to now ask her to go back and make them so we have a waiver program where we can do for some and help others out. I think it goes back to what we asked them, back against what we asked them to do in the first place, was make a fee structure that was fair and competitive with everybody and affordable, to now, okay, on some people, we're gonna eliminate that based on criteria, based on religion, and you know, is something free, is something not free, is it beneficial to the public? It all, I mean, Laura and her staff would be there for days listening to some of these, because people are gonna ask about everything. And they're gonna try to put their event into these criterias, where I like what we have in place, the fee structure in place. The fee structure is equal and to all involved. If I know I'm gonna rent a pavilion, I know how much it's gonna cost, whether I'm a nonprofit, for-profit, or I just wanna go down there and watch a movie by myself on a screen. I know what it's gonna cost me. And it eliminates me saying, well, why did the mayor get it for $2,000 and I paid $5,000? And that's what they went through when they established the fee structure, and they established everything, is to eliminate what we had prior to that, with everybody coming in and ask, everybody coming in wanting a waiver or wanting something for free, which is nothing wrong with that, having the city sponsor stuff. But I think the things that we sponsor already are the things that are near and dear to a community. 4th of July, a Christmas or a holiday parade, a veterans parade, Santas around the world, which goes against, it's not a religious thing, in my opinion. You're not looking just Christmas, you're looking at other types of celebrations for holidays. But those things that we already celebrate and we already sponsor are things we provide as a service to our community that a lot of communities provide. Now, we go different because I want to do a car show on the park. Is it beneficial to the city? Well, it brings people to the park. It brings people maybe from out of town, but should we sponsor that? Is that something we want to put our name and money towards? And that's where you go into, if I do it for Cars in the Parks, then I got to do it for the Sierra Vista Glow Ride. If I do it for the Glow, what distincts one event from the other event?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, to answer your question, Mayor Pro Tem, about the Christmas parade, I think I would classify that more as a holiday parade. We are not putting on a parade to celebrate the birth of the baby Jesus.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but just because
It is called the Christmas
We are
parade.
calling it, right, okay. I'm just putting that out there, that's, if we're gonna put this in here,
Maybe some context would be helpful on just a reminder where this whole program came from. And this stemmed from earlier in the budget process, to start with. And then the fact that as a city, we get asked for requests to sponsor events regularly. And so as staff understood the tasking, it was to develop a policy under which the city would put its name on an event, like the list that is in Exhibit A. So this doesn't mean that almost any organization can still pay to rent the park, can still put on events that don't have anything to do with, or don't have the city's name. The city has no involvement. They can rent the park and put an event on. So this is meant to describe under what circumstances would the city put its name on an event when the request is made for a sponsorship. So I'm not sure if that helps clarify it all, but that's where this came from.
It needs more clarity, more
yeah,
context.
I'm just,
So I agree with you. I think it needs more context and clarity so we can, yeah.
And we can certainly, if council's not ready to consider this, we can certainly pull it off the agenda and bring it back to a work session for further discussion.
Let's pull it off the agenda and bring it back to a work session. Yeah, that'd be best. Council, what do you think?
yeah, I'd like some time to figure out a way around to make it.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're still supporting the events we want to support, but we're not violating.
And one other point, so we can have it for clarification when we do bring it back to when we say stuff like, we're not talking, co-sponsorship doesn't mean staff costs, refundables, all the stuff we'd have a fee for anyway. So it's adding our name to something basically, and maybe promoting it on social media and doing advertising for it more. Kind of some of the stuff we already do now for people, but adding it to our calendar, et cetera. Or are we going, is it going even more in depth?
Can you say that question again, please, Mr. Benning?
On something that's like, co-sponsorship may include the following in-kind marketing: inclusion, city promotion materials, organic promotion, city social media, and promotion and earned media opportunities. We do that a lot now already, just with our calendar, events that are coming up in Sierra Vista and stuff that normally happens in Sierra Vista. But we're not giving money, like staff, they still have to pay for staff, outdoor use of city equipment, such, that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what exactly they're gonna get if we approve a waiver fee or co-sponsorship. Is it gonna be based by case? Or is it gonna be flat, if we give you a waiver, this is what the waiver insists across the board?
I think it would depend on what they were requesting specifically.
It was my understanding that the task was to determine how to get away from advertising everything for everyone, but to establish criteria of what we would advertise in kind for everyone. That was part of the scope of what we were looking for. Mm-hmm. And then the waiver would be depending on what you had requested, and that would be considered, and you could request one or many elements for support within your scope of your event for support.
And I'll add, one of the particular issues that has developed is related to marketing. It's one thing, we can put something on our event calendar that anybody can put an event on or request. It's another issue entirely when somebody requests the city to develop or produce marketing materials or pay to advertise, because then we run into gift clause issues where the city is providing a benefit or service and maybe not receiving something in return. So that's why marketing, the new section on page 3 on in-kind marketing support was included specifically.
Oh, sorry, a
No,
comment.
you'll go.
It might even be helpful just to have a definition of what co-sponsorship is and what is not, because you can't really ever over-clarify. So I don't know if that would help a little bit too, to have that in there.
Sir?
Well, how was the most recent Heritage Fest handled? It's obviously a private organization. They had it at Veterans Park. There were vendors. There were all kinds of things going on. How was that handled?
That was not a city co-sponsored.
That was not city
Yeah, they paid
co-sponsored,
for
that was a
everything.
special event,
Yeah.
which they
Okay.
did in entirety on their own.
Yeah.
Okay. And did they receive a waiver?
No.
No.
Okay.
Well, we don't have a waiver program right now, so it's,
No, it was
Okay.
all paid out of pocket.
And-
Yes, ma'am.
And they did not charge any of the vendors. They didn't, as long as you signed up with them, they gave you your booth for free. So that was how I guess they weren't looking to, I don't know how they raised all the money for that.
Donations.
Right, I guess sponsorships from other organizations. I
Okay.
think that's how they did it.
Okay.
So let's pull this off and reconvene in another work session.
Yes, we'll bring that back to a work session for further discussion.
Roger that. So for Thursday, we have 2 items. Mr. Williams, you'll be on the spot for those 2
dun,
items.
dun, dun.
And that'll be it for Thursday. So, item number B, strategic plan report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. So I apologize, the date got left off of this one. This is your fiscal year 2023, 2022, 2023 strategic plan final report. So, and to jump ahead just slightly, your implementation plan for your new strategic plan will be scheduled for your next work session. But in any case, just some of the highlights and a couple points before I give you the highlights on this strategic plan report. A number of things were marked behind schedule, and I'm going to go over those real quick. A number of things I marked as ongoing, and a few things I marked completed. And so I wanted to explain why something gets marked as ongoing versus completed. Some of it has to do with the wording of the goal itself. If it's something that isn't lent to saying we're done, it's finished, I tend to mark it ongoing also to show mayor and council that there's sometimes a misunderstanding that once we finish a strategic plan report that we move on and forget about it, and if something isn't on the new plan that we don't work on it anymore. And so a number of the situations where these goals are marked as ongoing is also to signify to mayor and council that these are still important and they're still going to continue to be worked on. So that's why so many of them get marked as ongoing. Just to explain what's behind schedule, some of the ones that were behind schedule last time have continued for the same reasons. Goal 1, the pavement condition index survey. I'm happy to report that that is currently underway, and we're hoping to have that data by the end of the year, which means it would help inform next year's or the annual street maintenance plan for next fiscal year. So that's in process. Goal 1.2, the Complete Streets program, although that one's behind, the amendments to establish that program will be going to planning and zoning in November, and then to council in December pending acceptance and approval by planning and zoning, so you should see those by the end of the year. 5.1, Highway 90 repaving. I think we're all pretty aware what's going on with that, but as was reported, I think, at the last work session, paving is scheduled to start on that in the October-November timeframe. So we're in October, so right around the corner. Goal 13.1 on evaluating future facility needs. This is a really important goal to staff moving forward, having a plan for improvements needed on all of our buildings. It just slipped behind because the person we had working on was assigned some other important tasks. And it was reassigned to staff, but staff is progressing on this, and implementing our new capital projects module will also assist in the completion of that goal. And then finally, again, no surprise, goal 15.2, the animal shelter expansion, $2 million is included in this current year's fiscal budget. And in the budget, I talked to Bryce this morning, and Engineering's currently wrapping up the 90% design. They expect to have that completed by the end of the month, early November. Then we move into the permitting process, and we're expecting construction to start around January of next year. So that will be starting very soon. The new things that I marked completed, goal 5.2 on streamlining the capital improvement plan process. Again, staff is pretty excited about our new capital improvements module. That's going to really help us track the progress of all capital projects, as well as help us identify better what projects are coming up. All of the details on each project pretty much in one place, with a lot of really cool reporting features. So you'll also probably see a lot of those reporting features in your executive plans, and we should have that in place, we're hoping, for next budget year. So you'll see that soon. Goal 6.2.2, which was phase 2 of Garden Avenue improvements. I marked that as completed because of the way the goal was phrased. Nothing has changed since our last update, but just to remind you that even though we're not moving forward with construction yet, we will be applying for that RAISE grant again next year. We think we have a really, really good shot this time of receiving that. And if we don't, we'll still be able to put money in next year's budget to move forward with that project. So the intent of the goal, I felt, was completed the way it was written. Goal 10.1 on increasing sports tourism revenue by $3 million over the next 2 years. By staff's estimate, our Parks Rec and Library team did an amazing job, and they actually exceeded that goal by over $1 million. Their very conservative estimate is that the city saw just over $4 million over the past 2 years related to sports tourism. So excellent job to them. Goal 17.1 on reinvigorating the non-regulatory commissions. I think council's well aware of why that is now completed. And that would be the highlights of the report. We do have a number of staff here if there are any questions on specific items, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments on the strategic plan report? None?
No, I think
Okay,
it's
very good.
going well. I think that $4 million is well underestimated. I think it's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But
All right, go to item number Charlie. Report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. Yes, ma'am.
So the Transportation Commission had the first meeting on October the 2nd. It was here in the conference room up here. So the initial meeting, it covered some of the basic procedures since it was our first meeting, the general planning process. There are still commission vacancies. There's a couple of vacancies left for commission members, and members of the public are always welcome to come and attend that. Another update is that the airport master plan is underway right now. It's going on. They're also looking for input on the city's next general plan. Information can be provided from the public. If you go to the website, sierravista.az.gov/Vista 2024, or also if you just go to the main website, it's on the banner. It's one of the 3 things that's going on in the banner. Just click on that, provide your feedback, and that will go in for the Vista 2040 general plan. The next meeting will be November the 1st on a Wednesday at 3:30 in the second floor conference room, right in that room over there. So anybody's welcome to attend. If anybody is interested in being a commission member, I encourage you to attend that meeting or reach out for more information on that.
Thank you, ma'am. Your recent trips, meetings, future meetings. We have future
I'm
meetings
going to
next week.
Yuma.
Yeah, we'll be in Yuma next week.
Yes.
The
We had a-
4 of us.
Yes.
Marta, Mayor. What's up? Oh, yeah, Greg and I.
Yes.
I
For
was
the
gonna say something.
MPO.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you explain what that is?
What? Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
For those of us not going.
That's true. Okay. It's for the Rural Transportation, what do they call it? They call it Arizona Rural Transportation Summit. And it's 2 days. It's not like some of the other ones. And we will have a chance to meet. It's the same process that started us getting that funding for the other drive in Mosin. We meet with our legislatures, and the State Transportation Board will be there as well, and some other a bunch of other elected officials, and we can present the projects. We have a presentation put together that I think I'm going to be giving, and it's going to be on the money we need to fund the project on BST, Buffalo Soldier Trail. And so that's our project this year. There's some breakout sessions, and we'll report back what we hear.
And we should have a report on 9092.
Yeah, that's true.
We should have a good report.
If we don't, they'll be right there in the room with you.
Yeah. Any other reports on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings? And future discussion items, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing on my list so far is the item I already mentioned, and that's your fiscal year 24-25 implementation plan will be on your next agenda.
Roger that.
Yeah. And
Yes, sir.
on Thursday at 9 a.m., there's going to be a CCOM meeting at CCOM headquarters, so I will be attending that.
Is that the regular staff meeting, or is that the
It's a JPA, I think they call it.
JPA?
It was canceled.
Yeah,
Oh, JPA was canceled.
Was it?
yeah.
I didn't get that memo.
Airmail.
One less meeting to go to, I guess.
All right.
Okay, so the CCOM meeting is canceled.
CCOM meeting is canceled.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
I'll let the sheriff know. Well, I think that's item number D. With that, there are no other questions, comments? We are adjourned.